أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين أما بعد. Allah تبارك وتعالى says in his glorious book in Surah Al-Ma'idah in the ending of the second verse, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ. And cooperate in righteousness and piety, and do not cooperate in sin and aggression, and fear Allah, indeed Allah is severe in penalty. Now every order and prohibition in the Quran are an obligation unless there's a qualification against it. And what I mean by that is some of the qualifications can be, it's mentioned as a threat. Like in Surah Al-Kahf, in the beginning of verse 29, وَقِلِ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. It's up to you. If you want to believe or if you don't want to believe. That's a threat from Allah. Allah is not telling us that we can believe or not believe. It's a threat. Another case is when something is made allowable. Like in Surah Al-Baqarah in part of verse 87, وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَكُمُ الْخَيْطُ الْأَبْيَضُ مِنَ الْخَيْطِ الْأَسْوَدِ مِنَ الْفَجْرِ. And eat and drink until you can distinguish between the white thread and the dark thread of Fajr. Now, it doesn't mean you have to eat until that time. It's something that's allowable. So it comes in the form of an order, but it's not an actual order. It's qualified as it's something allowed. Another example is in Surah An-Nur, in the beginning of verse 32. وَأَنْكِحُوا الْأَيَامَ مِنْكُمْ وَالصَّالِحِينَ مِنْ عِبَادِكُمْ وَإِمَائِكُمْ. And marry the unmarried among you and the righteous among your male and female slaves. Again, it's something that legalized. You don't have to do it, but it's legal if you choose to do it. But if those cases do not apply, then it's an order. If it's not qualified, then it's an obligation. Like for example, in Surah Taha in verse 14, Allah says, إِنَّنِي أَنَا اللَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنَا فَعْبُدْنِي وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِذِكْرِي. Indeed, I am Allah, there is no deity except me, so worship me and establish prayer for my remembrance. Those are an obligation. There is no qualification for it. It's a clear obligation and an order from Allah. Now the verse that I mentioned at the beginning, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى, is an order from Allah. It's not something that's optional or qualified. It is an order from Allah to cooperate. Now, cooperation can be intellectual, financial, spiritual, physical. So there's different categories. Like when you help others accomplish some work, that's physical. Or when you go visit a sick person, that's a psychological cooperation. So if you look at a lot of the acts of worship in Islam, they're all group activities. Jum'ah is one of them, Hajj, Sawm, it's group activities where all of us do it together. Many traditions of the Prophet ﷺ encourages group activities and helping one another. Shura, mutual consultation, which is, Shura is one of those, is a form of cooperation because we're cooperating with others to establish, something. And helping others with their needs is a form of cooperation. Now, the order from Allah, if we look at the form, it says, وَتَعَاوَنُوا. Allah did not say, وَأَعِينُوا. A'inu is a one-sided help. That means go and help somebody else. That's wa'a'inu. But that's not the form in this verse. The verse is wata'awanu. That means cooperate with each other. It's a two-way. Sometimes you're the one doing the help. Sometimes you're the one receiving the help. So ta'awanu, it goes both ways. It's not a one-sided thing. So it is Allah's wisdom that He created us, put us on this earth to need each other. Nobody is completely self-reliant. Only Allah is self-reliant. Everybody else, we need others. We need others to do anything. We only have a few skills, and we miss so many other skills that we need others to help us in order to live, comfortably on this earth. If you look at, for example, if you eat a piece of bread in the morning, how many people had to contribute in order for that piece of bread to reach you? The farmers had to go and plant the seeds, and then it had to be harvested. It had to be sent somewhere to be ground. Transportation, people to transport it, marketing, selling, all that stuff. Hundreds of people probably got involved until that piece of bread made it to your table. Now imagine if you had to go and plant all the stuff in order to eat. If you had to grow your own food in order to eat, you're in trouble. Because that takes all of your time. So sometimes, it's by Allah's wisdom that we all need each other. I have one or two skills that I'm very good at, but I have so many other skills I have no knowledge of. So I rely on others to help me, and the same goes to others. You get sick, you go to the doctor for, you don't self-medicate, you go to the doctor to look for what's going on and help you with finding a cure. Now this doctor has spent probably over 30 years, if you count on all the years that he went to school, in order to write you a prescription. Now that doctor, if an engineer who is a brilliant in math, he has to go to the doctor when he gets sick. He can't, cure himself. And the doctor has to go to the mechanic when his car breaks. He's not going to know how to open the hood and get his hands dirty and fix it. They may, but most people are like that. You have a few skills, but you need so many others. So you're forced, and it's by Allah's design, we're forced to seek others for help. I help you, you help me, you help somebody else, and when all of us cooperate, we all help each other. And that's how Allah wants us. So it's very difficult for anyone to survive by themselves. And this is from Allah's subjugation of man in this life. We need others and others need us. Now, we have the option when we interact with others to interact with honesty or interact with deception. We have that option. We have the option to deal with others with truth or lie to them. We can do it with dedication or with neglect. We have that option. So cooperation could be a path to Jannah if we do it correctly. So Allah made that when we interact with others, if you interact with honesty, that's a path to heaven. If you do the job and you do it well with dedication, that's a path to heaven. If you deal with others with deception, that's a path to hell. So Allah SWT made the path to heaven or hell in how we cooperate or deal with each other. Now, the word وَتَعَاوَنُوا, again back to the verse, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى. وَتَعَاوَنُوا is all of you believers, ta'awanu. So the verb is there, وَتَعَاوَنُوا. The subject is the believers. Where's the object? Who are we supposed to cooperate with? It's dropped from this verse. And in Arabic language, when the object is dropped, that means it's wide open. Cooperate with anyone. Anyone. There's no limitation on who you can cooperate with in matters of good, of course. So وَتَعَاوَنُوا means anybody. You want to, if you can cooperate with a non-Muslim. You can cooperate with an atheist. You can cooperate with anyone on this earth in matters of good. And that's what we understand from وَتَعَاوَنُوا. There is no, Allah did not say only ta'awanu with other believers. No, He said وَتَعَاوَنُوا. It's open. So now ta'awanu, cooperation, is different from close, intimate relations. So we have to distinguish between the two. We cooperate with everyone, but love and affection and close ties is only for believers. So we have to make sure that we distinguish those two things. So there are many verses in the Quran that encourage Muslims to treat everyone with justice and with goodness. Just because you're a non-Muslim doesn't mean I abuse you. No, that's not. You're a fellow human. We're brothers in humanity. Now Allah says in Surah Al-Mumtahana in the beginning of verse 8, لا ينهاكم الله عن الذين لم يقاتلوكم في الدين ولم يخرجوكم من دياركم أن تبروهم وتقسطوا إليهم. Allah does not forbid you that when you have non-believers that are not fighting you, they're at peace with you, they're your neighbors, they're your co-workers, they're your, they live in the same community, they're not actively fighting you, they don't have animosity against you. And Allah says, Allah does not tell you not to be just and righteous towards them. It's an order to be nice to people who are nice to you, regardless of whether they are fellow believers or not. Now, another verse in Surah Al-Ma'idah, a part of verse 8, Allah says, وَلَا يَجْرِمَنَّكُمْ شَنَآنُ قَوْمٍ عَلَىٰ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا اعْدِلُوا هُوَ أَقْرَبُ لِلتَّقْوَى وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ. And do not let the hatred of a people prevent you from being just. Be just, that is nearer to righteousness. That's from taqwa. So justice is an order even with the people that you don't like. Give you an example from the seerah. Umar radiallahu anh, he had a brother before Islam that somebody killed his brother before Islam. And then that person became a Muslim, and then when Umar became a Khalifa, that person, he saw that person, and he asked Sayyidina Umar, he said, do you like me? And Sayyidina Umar says, no, I don't like you. And he was truthful to him. You killed my brother, I don't like you. So the man says, will your not liking me affect getting justice? Because he is the Khalifa. Will I get justice if you don't like me? He said, no, by Allah, I cannot treat you with injustice. I may like you or not like you, but treating with justice has nothing to do with whether you like somebody or not. Just because you don't like somebody, you cannot invent things against them and believe every lie against them and go in and hurt them. That's not how Islam is. Islam is you treat people with respect, you treat them with justice. And a Muslim lives in a society, is an active member in the society. We cannot lock ourselves and isolate ourselves. That is not why Allah put us, especially in this country. We're not here by chance. We could have been living in a Muslim country surrounded by other Muslims, but here we are. We are in a non-Muslim country, and that's by Allah's design. So you have to ask yourself, why am I here? Am I here so just I can get a good job and isolate myself and my family and just, take and give nothing? Or is Allah putting us in this society for a reason? If you look at the society, it's crying for Allah's guidance. They just don't know it. All the sins, all the problems in this society, Islam has the solution for them. And if we don't cooperate and interact with people, how are they going to find it? We should think about our role in this society. Now, Allah says, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى. He qualified what we can cooperate with others on. We can only cooperate on birr and taqwa. So, birr is righteousness. It's everything that by nature, a human nature accepts as good. Even somebody who has no religious background, he knows that something is good. We have a project to find employment for the unemployed. That's good. We have a project to take care of orphans. That's fitrah. Fitrah is happy with it. It accepts it as something good. That's birr. So anything that by nature you feel that it's, your nature tells you this is something good. Protect the oppressed. That's something good. Whether you have a religious background or not, your fitrah tells you this is right. And that's bir. And the problem is, cooperation in itself. I mean, you see in this society with non-Muslims, they stress on cooperation. I mean, if you look at the third world country and the developed countries, what's something that's different between the two? Advanced countries, they cooperate. They institute that in their companies. They raise their children on it, on team sports, on team, cooperation. And third world country, what's their main things? Individualism. Everybody's fighting with everybody. Nobody wants to cooperate with anyone. There was a joke, I grew up in Lebanon, it says, 2 people can have 3 different opinions. It's like, you cannot advance if you don't cooperate. And that's, and this cooperation, has to be in matters that benefits the society. That's better. But taqwa is another thing that we're ordered to cooperate on. And taqwa is matters that relates to the hereafter. Acquiring knowledge, teaching it to others, bringing others closer to Allah, being a role model, in implementing Islam to others. That's cooperation on taqwa. So between bir and taqwa, you combine the worldly things and the heavenly things. And we're supposed to cooperate. Anything that results in goodness, we cooperate, and we cooperate with anyone. Regardless of their background, regardless of their faith, regardless of their social status, we cooperate. That's the order from Allah. Now what we cannot cooperate on comes in the latter part of the verse. وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. Now the devils cooperate on ithm and udwan. That's their property. They help each other deceive others and hurt others. But a Muslim cannot cooperate with anyone on ithm and udwan. And ithm, the definition of ithm is something that you're ashamed to have other people know about. You're doing it purposely, but you do not like people to know that you're doing it. That's what ithm. It's a sin. So the sound nature abhors it. It knows that it's like, ew, it's icky. You know by nature that what you're doing is not right. And you do it deliberately. Now, helping others commit sin and waste time and get away from Allah, and these are all types of things that we cannot cooperate with others on. Or buying and selling merchandise that it's bad. It may be legal in the legal sense, but from a God's religion and laws, it's something bad. It hurts others. We should not be working with others on that ithm. Al-udwan is aggression against others. So ithm is something that you're doing your own self. Udwan is something you're doing to others. Now, udwan is aggression that could be verbal, physical, or psychological. Anything that you're hurting others with, you cannot cooperate with others on. If somebody slashes your tire, and you go in and slash all 4 of his tires, that's udwan. You can slash 1 tire, an eye for an eye. In Islamic law, when you repay something with the exact same thing, there's no punishment on you. But when you exceed that bound, that's udwan. You're committing aggression. You took something that does not belong to you. Women that are not dressed properly walking in the streets are committing aggression at everyone who's looking at them. They may not look at it like that, but that's what they're doing. They're aggressively attacking everyone around them. They're abusing your eyes. Maybe you don't want to see them, and then they're right there, So that's aggression. Ruining the society with alcohol and vice and all these things, these are all forms of aggression. Like this, this state has just, agreed that yes, it's legal to sell marijuana and stuff. I mean, we know by fitrah it's wrong. We know by Shara is wrong. We cannot cooperate. We have to be vocal. We cannot be quiet when we see these things permeate in a society that we live in, that our children live in. We cannot be silent. If we're silent, we're accomplices. We're accomplices in it. So we have to pay attention to that. Now there's a direct relationship, before I get to that. Now every effective law must have consequences. If you have a law that doesn't have consequences, it's meaningless. It's a suggestion, it's not a law. And Allah in this verse says, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ. And fear Allah, indeed Allah is severe in penalty. All the divine orders, they carry a very severe punishment with them. It's not, oh, it's, you know, if I feel good, I'll follow it. No, we have no option. You follow it, you'll get the reward. If you go against it, there's punishment. And that punishment makes the law effective. Now, people who build their wealth on abusing others and stealing money from others and committing aggression against others must have a bad end. That's the consequence of cooperating on ithm and udwan. But in this life, when you know, it's not necessarily that every person would have a bad end in this life. Because Allah Ta'ala, He doesn't punish everyone. He punishes a few to make them an example to others. Just like He rewards a few to make them an encouragement for others. But on the hereafter, the consequences will be applied. There is no escape from it. You cooperate on ithm and udwan, and aggression and sin, you will find the punishment either in this life or the hereafter or both. Now man has a conflict between desire and obedience. That's how Allah created us. He put desires in us, and the desires are like the engine that moves the car forward. Without these desires, you know, we can't move ahead. Allah ordered us to pray Fajr, but the body wants to stay asleep, nice and comfortable and tucked in. You don't want to wake up. That's just your body telling you, just make qada. No, but Allah wants you to get up. Allah wants you to lower your gaze and not look at things that you shouldn't look at. But the human soul wants to look freely, wants no limitation. That's the desires. Allah ordered that we spend our wealth and help others, but the soul says, no, just grab it and keep it, don't give it, just accumulate it, don't give it to anyone. And that conflict between desire and obligation and obedience, that's how we move ahead and get closer to Allah. When we fight our desires and in favor of obedience, we earn the key to heaven. I don't want to say we earn heaven, because nothing we do in this life heaven is such a big reward that nothing we can do in this life will actually be comparable. Maybe we're earning the right to hold the key to enter heaven, and that's even too much. So the level of cooperation that we have is directly proportional to our obedience to Allah. If your cooperation with others is high, chances are your obedience to Allah is high, because you're giving, you're not taking. You're interacting with the society, you're in there with them. You're not isolating yourself. And if the level of individualism, me, my children, my family, I don't care about anyone else, when that level goes up, chances are the level of sin and disobedience goes up with it, because you're following your desires. When you go against the desires, then you're getting closer to Allah's obedience. And Allah Ta'ala says, كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. This is in Surah Al Imran in the beginning of verse 110. You are the best nation produced for mankind. Why? Because you're Muslims? Because you believe? Believing is part of it, but that's not the reason why Allah says you are the best nation. The best nation is because you enjoin what is right and you forbid what is wrong, on top of believing with Allah. So we have to cooperate on what is good and not cooperate on what's bad in order to qualify to be part of this ummah that Allah has praised in His book. When the society is alert and confronts evil, evil retreats and the circle of khair, of goodness, increases. But when the society is not paying attention and nobody cares, then the circle of goodness shrinks and the circle of evil gets bigger. We see it every day. We see it every day. If I compare what I see 20 years ago, 30 years ago when I came to this country with what I'm seeing now, it's unbelievable. It is unbelievable how the circle of goodness have shrunk. And we have a responsibility to it too, because we need to be active in the society. We need to enjoin what is good. We need to be vocal against what is not right. Because a Muslim cannot be a partner, not even a silent partner, because if we remain quiet while they try to fund schools with all kinds of vices, and it only leads to problems. I mean, we see it doesn't even work. It leads to problems, and we're quiet. Let them go to hell. That's not why Allah put us in this society. He put us in this society to be good role models, to provide solutions. We have the solution. Broadcast it. Spread it to yourself, to your family, to your coworkers, to your neighbors, to everyone around you. We have to cooperate on what's good and cooperate with anyone, not limited, because there are some ignorant Muslims that said, no, I only cooperate with Muslims, everybody else go to hell. You do not, people like that do not understand the command of Allah. The command of Allah is you cooperate with anyone on matters of good and matters that bring goodness to the society. Because if we do that, then the circle of khair increases and shar goes away. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.